All right. Welcome. Welcome to the Q&A portion of Wealth and Happiness Codes. I'm really just honored to bring this work into the world and to have shared what I have so far. If you didn't listen to the original class, please go back and listen to that. This is the Q&A portion, so I got some questions ahead of time. I did not tune into these questions yet, so this is going to be like a live channeling of the answers to these and what wants to come through in the highest good for everyone who listens to this recording. So let's get started. The first question: how to work with ease, relaxation, and loveliness to attract wealth. This comes from Rebecca. The first thing that comes through on this is that it really depends. And I know that that's like the answer we all don't hope for, but it really does. It depends on the person, right? What does ease mean to you? What does relaxation mean to you? What does it mean to work with and attract wealth? Ease for one person is not ease for another person. This is really an invitation for you to step into a space that feels good to you. And that's what matters most, right? When we put pressure on wealth, think about like pressure on other things too. Like if you have a friend that is putting pressure on you to be a certain way in the friendship, that pressure feels constricting, right? So if we're holding pressure against money, against wealth, then money is not going to want to be around us, right? We're constricting that flow. We're not allowing ease, right? So if we hold so tightly on like, how do I do this with ease and with relaxation? You know what I mean? It's this pressure that we're putting on it. It's this amplification of energy that we're working against the very thing that we crave. So the first thing that I would do is unravel the pressure. What does it look like to remove and unravel all of the pressures that you feel right now in your life? Not just about money, about everything, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And in the original class, you'll notice that I didn't speak a lot specifically to money because it's about so much more than that. When we're in alignment with who we really are, that does not look like putting pressure on ourselves and forcing and shoulding. So the question is, how can I release this pressure? What are the pressures that I feel around me? And how can I just be more present and be in acceptance of this moment as it is right now? How can I find that acceptance here? When we ease into that space, I feel like that's when things naturally align. So what does that look like for you? The next question comes from Vic. Her struggle is, okay, abundance has come in. She won the lottery, but not a crazy amount, not a small amount either. So how do I justify spending it on myself versus not being able to share it with all my friends and family I'd like to share with? The very first thing that I learned in my journey was that caring for my own needs is not selfish. That was when I stepped into therapy. When I started saying no to other people and yes to myself, it felt selfish to me immediately. So the first thing I would question is, what are you making it mean about you if you don't share something in your life with your family and friends? And do you even want to share it with them genuinely? Sometimes I think we can drop into this space of obligation. We can, even though it maybe doesn't feel like an obligation, we can naturally resort to something that we've been conditioned to without realizing it. So do you really want to share it with them? And what does that mean to you? What are your values? What matters to you in life? And if that includes community and other people, great. And if right now you're number one in your life, that's okay too. So then it becomes unraveling the guilt and shame that you might feel when you go against something that you've been conditioned to, because the unraveling includes that. It's not always as clear as just a choice of, no, I actually don't believe that. This is what I believe. Sometimes there's still unraveling to do. Sometimes it's not just like a flip of a switch. Let me see if there's anything else that wants to come through. And then you use the word justify specifically, which is really interesting, because this to me brings up worthiness. How do I justify spending it on myself? What is, I would look at, what do I feel is worth spending money on, and what do I feel is not worth spending money on, and why? And see where you land in that mix. Sometimes with the justification becomes or comes deservingness. Sometimes as humans, we feel like we have to work really hard or earn something to deserve something. So I would look at unraveling some of that. Is there some of that energy there? Okay, the next question is from Julie. I'm trying to learn how to release what seems to be a very deep subconscious belief about money, because it's like, I know I'm worthy and we all are, and we live in an abundant universe in life. I just haven't been able to realize that into being something that allows me to let go of my 12-hour shift job. If it were just me, I think I could more easily. However, I'm supporting my family, so it's harder to make a leap of faith from stability to doing something I'm called to. Okay, so this is really about the leap of faith and trusting in the abundance, trusting that the leap will work, that the abundance will come when we step into that. Something to say about money in particular is that there's a very real energy around survival. So if you are in a space of survival with money, and that your basic needs aren't able to be met with money, then the nervous system will ask us to regulate that. So I would, if any of you are in this space of survival, first of all, get very real about that, because again, this is interesting, because it seems like it would be something very black and white, right? You're either in survival or you're not. Your needs are being met or they're not, but needs are relative. So the amount of money that somebody has and what they view as safe is relative from one person to another. So the first thing I would do is get really clear on, am I in survival? Right? Do I need this job to meet my basic needs for myself, for my family? If you're the only income maker. And then if you are not in survival, so if you are in survival, I would say you need to build up some sort of cushion or find a different resource. If you feel really called to get into what you're doing, what your call is in life, then finding another resource to help support you in that phase of transition is beautiful. But also looking at, what do I have available to me for resources? And is this enough for me to feel safe in making this leap? Because when we make a leap, this is tricky, because the leaps are scary. They tend to be scary, and they're exciting at the same time. But if we jump too far, too fast, and our nervous system can't regulate itself, it's not a service to us or anyone around us to be in that space. It's one thing to make a move and like blow up your nervous system. And it's another thing to make a move and have your nervous system get a little uncomfortable, and you just need to regulate into that next level. There's a difference there, and you have to walk that line and be really honest with yourself. So I would look at, what are the resources I have available to me, looking at your liquid assets, looking at whatever resources you have, whether that's housing, that's money, whatever that looks like. Exploring other opportunities of ways that money can come in to make it an easier shift for you. These are all things that you can look at. Sometimes, like for me, I had 2 positions eliminated within a year of each other in my journey. And so I didn't get a choice to make the leap. I had more resources than I was willing to see. In corporate, when I was in corporate, I could never make enough money. I could never, it was never enough. No matter how much I had in savings or anything, it was just never enough. And being forced to take that leap, really invited to take that leap at a time that I wasn't expecting, it really showed me. It taught me about money differently. It showed me to acknowledge myself and the resources that I had. And to be grateful for that, to be grateful for what I was able to build while I was in corporate, and to have that support me while I started my business. So it's really, that's what I mean. It's really interesting, because this is very similar with kids too, right? How many couples do I speak to that one of the partners thinks they need more resources before they have a baby, and the other one is like, let's have a baby now? And there's this, right? There's this difference in, it's just another example of what we view as readiness, what our nervous systems can handle. So I would look at resources. I would get really clear on, is my nervous system regulated? And what do I need to do to regulate that if that's not the case? And what does it mean to step into the next level? Like, what is my bare minimum that I need to have here to feel supported and not have my nervous system go crazy in order for me to take the next step? Only you know the answer. Only you know the answer. And then the other thing I want to say that's coming through with this is in regards to the pressure. I'm going to bring up pressure again, right? The pressure to support your family. I would invite you to unravel that a bit as well. So where are you putting pressure on yourself to be that support system? And is there space for you to ask for what you need or to ask for support? Because that's always an option as well. Okay. The next question comes from Kathleen. And she's asking about focusing on money as an energy. So moving it and working with it at the energetic level. And I remember she talked about it's infinite and how do you work with that? Working with money on an energetic level can get really interesting, especially as you're unraveling money beliefs. So I would invite you, the first thing that's coming through is to meditate with money, not with physical money, but with the energy of money. So can you drop in to a space of stillness and ask the money of energy to show itself to you? And what that looks like is it's literally as simple as it sounds, right? So closing your eyes, asking to connect with the energy of money, with the energy of wealth, and just saying, show yourself to me. What do you want to show me? What can I learn about you? What do you want to tell me? And sit with it. Sit with that energy. Notice where your mind wants to come in. The mind and the ego is going to come up most likely with limiting things, right? So it might start to bring up old money beliefs. And if that happens, just acknowledge it and put it to the side. Come back to focusing on, show me the energy of money. Show me the energy of wealth. This is where I learned about holding money, right? And how money felt about when I was constricting with it, when I was holding on to it with such a tight grip that it couldn't even breathe. And it's saying to me, why would I want to come to you when you won't even let me move? I can't even breathe when I'm around you. The other thing to look at is considering how you're moving your money with your desires and your obligations. And how can we shift the idea of having obligations, right? So debt. How can we shift the idea of debt into desire? So this goes back, I'm going down a little rabbit hole here because it's what's coming through. This goes back to spending money in alignment. So when I get my credit card bill, I'm looking at every purchase I make and I'm asking myself, is this in alignment? Is this in my highest good? Is this what I want to be spending money on? And I'm making sure that that's clean, that there's not leaks there. And so if I'm doing that, if I'm looking at my purchases and saying that everything that I'm spending money on is what I desire, then is there really an obligation or debt in the way that we view obligation and debt? Because there tends to be this like negative energy around debt and obligation. There tends to be this, like sticky energy around, oh, I have to pay my bills. And so how can we shift that into I get to pay? My money gets to pay for my desires. And when we start circulating money from that perspective and we're happy to release it, that's when money starts opening up. That's when the energy starts opening up, because the pressure, here's pressure again, the pressure is not there. The pressure is not constricting the flow. Most recently, there's been inflation for a little while now. How many of you complained about gas prices? Versus what would it feel like to show up and just, whatever gas is $4.26 today, a gallon. I wonder what it's going to be if I listen to this in 20 years. What would it be like to show up and see that price and just accept it? It is what it is. It's the exchange here right now. And I trust that no matter what I put out, that the money's going to come back to me, that I will be supported. I will be resourced. Doesn't matter what the number is. But if I'm checking in and this is what I need right now, this is aligned, then I trust that I will be fully supported in circulating this money. There's no pressure, there's no shame, there's no guilt. And I say that, but I also want to say, because it's a beautiful space to be in. It's a beautiful space to be able to spend that money and just be completely neutral about it. And there's also times where we might not feel that way, and there might be like, okay, gas is a little high today and I'm going to fill my tank and I'm going to trust, even though I'm scared. What if it doesn't come back? There's going to be moments like that. There's going to be moments where we're not so trusting and we're not so neutral about spending the money. So it's really all about, it doesn't mean that if you feel any of that, that we can't attract wealth and abundance and more. It just means focusing on building that awareness and then shifting that. Okay, how can I shift into more abundance? How can I shift my belief? Even just noticing like, okay, the disbelief is here and I'm going to choose to shift it. I'm going to choose to call in a different belief. Because that's the thing about abundance and flow, is that what we focus on expands. So when we're focusing on what's not working, what's not how we'd like it to be, that's what we attract more of in our life, because our energy is magnetic to that. So when we're in transition in that space, it's totally natural to feel that. And then also say, okay, I feel that, and I'm going to choose to believe that every dollar that I put out comes back to me tenfold, because I am supported, because I am on my life path, because I am in alignment. So this also includes breaking down, what does alignment mean for you? Everything that you put out into the world, is it in alignment? Not just the money you spend, how you show up in the world, how you're expressing yourself. Are you connected to the spirit of who you are? I believe that if I'm showing up in that space, it's impossible not to be supported. It's impossible. There is no way that I am called to a game that I can't play. So if I'm showing up in that space, of course, I'm going to be resourced. Of course. Let me see if there's anything else. No. Okay. And if any other questions come up, by the way, as a result of this, let me know, and I'm happy to do another one of these. The next question comes from Tangerine. I'm trying to be okay with accepting gifts and not feeling bad for taking them or feeling like I owe something in return for it. Accepting money is hard. Okay. So the first thing that comes up is that exchange. So this isn't, I'm going to say that this goes beyond money again, because how we do one thing is how we do everything. So if it's difficult to accept gifts, it's probably difficult to accept compliments, to accept help, to accept support, kindness. Something that I'm working on personally is, if somebody offers something to me, right, whether that's paying for a meal or a tip or opening a door or a compliment on the street, I'm working on just saying I received that, and really just allowing my body to feel that. So not just saying thank you as a courtesy, but really, I received that. Thank you. And just feeling it in my body, allowing that energy to just flow over me, to raise my vibration. Because what is that? It's love in all forms. So the question becomes, why is it hard for you to receive love? Where did you not receive love? And the worthiness is coming up here as well. Right. So starting to unravel, where do I believe that I don't deserve this, that I don't deserve what I have, that I don't deserve what somebody is giving to me or wants to give to me? And why do I get to decide for someone else. So if someone else is offering a gift to me, who am I to take that service, that act of service away from them? It's like cutting off their expression, right? Sometimes also like that quick exchange, like that tit for tat, sometimes also it takes away from the value of the exchange, right? Almost like, did you really receive that I gave you? Did you really receive that? Or did you just notice that something came your way, so you needed to balance it with something coming my way? So these are all little things to start to notice and just be curious about. I know this feeling like you owe something in return. I know it. I've had quite a few people open their homes to me on my travels. And it's really challenged me to be in a space of accepting receiving. Somebody offered this to me because they love me, because they care about me. The other thing is that feeling like you owe something, it's not a good feeling. So I would start to unravel the deservingness, the receiving love. Accepting money is hard. The first thing that comes up is, what are you making it mean? What does it mean to you to receive money? What are you making the source mean? Because that's really what it's about, right? If you accepted money for work that you did, would you feel that it's hard to receive that? Or would you feel like you earned it? But if you found $20 on the street, would you struggle accepting that? So looking at the source too. What are the sources that I see are worthy of receiving from, and what sources am I thinking I don't deserve, unworthy of receiving of? Okay, moving on. Megan, I've been sinking into this, but feel so lost on the feel it part. Like, to manifest, you think it, believe it, and feel it as if you already have it, right? So I can do all those things really well, I feel. But when reality hits and the credit card company calls 3 times a day, or I can't even go grab shampoo because of budget limitations, I don't feel it then. It's so visceral and real. And I don't know how to ignore that feeling. How do I keep believing when it's so in my face? This is from Megan. This is the beautiful world of what you see possible versus reality. And I would venture to say a couple of things. I don't actually believe that if we're really holding space for thinking, believing, and feeling, like she said, I don't believe that it's not. I don't believe that it's not going to come to us. I believe that there's something there. Now, where you could be is in that transition space, because sometimes when we are holding a particular energy, we're in that sort of hangover period where the new beliefs are trying to catch up with us. So we're still moving through all the old belief systems. So there is a transition phase. So I would start to ask the question, do I really believe it? And am I taking full responsibility? That's what's coming through here, is the responsibility piece. So have I really truly owned all of my beliefs about money and shifting them and working towards what I believe? And am I holding any other energy that's not mine around manifesting? Am I holding any blame around anyone else? So this comes down to, am I taking full responsibility for what I believe in and the actions that I am taking to manifest those beliefs? Manifesting is just to make something real. Am I taking full ownership of that, or am I depending on, blaming, relying on anyone else? Because if there's any of that energy or expectations going out there, those are leaks. So I would look at energetic leaks around that, because I don't believe that if you're holding that vibration, I believe it's impossible for it not to come to you. Just like the energy of the poor, right? People who are living on the street are choosing that, I believe. They're holding that vibration. That's the cool thing about vibration, right? We can choose the vibration that we hold. We choose it. And I get also that sometimes what we desire, the reality is that we can't, I desire having 3 international homes that I built around the world, right? And the reality is right now I can't pay for that. So I get that there's this, right? I can hold that energy and still have the reality that I have. But I choose to continually act from that version of me, as opposed to perpetuating the reality that I'm in. So something that you can do to start holding space for more in your life is just being really clear on those desires and starting to bring that energy into your current reality. So maybe that's something like, I was drinking my kombucha with champagne flutes, because champagne felt like luxury to me. I go for massage every 4 to 6 weeks. It's a non-negotiable for me. That's a standard that I am setting in my life. Melanie Ann Layer, if any of you are familiar with her, she talks about how she lived in her Honda Civic and she would take calls from her car and get money from coaching. And that's where she started her coaching business. And she would take all of her money and she would get one super luxurious hotel room for the night, for one night. And the rest of the time she'd live in her car. Now that's not ideal. But do you see how she's taking that energy and she's applying it to what she desires, right? So I've chosen not to spend money on a lot of other things that I used to spend money on regularly. And I've chosen to accumulate that money and spend it on massage to take care of myself. Right. So being really clear on the responsibility of your beliefs and the actions that you're taking and your desires. Are you acting from your space of desire? True desire. That doesn't mean just frivolously spending. How can we spend with intention? If everything we do, not just spend, the way we show up in the world, the things that we do, if everything that we do is an intention and with alignment, how can we not be supported? So I would start to unravel some of that. Okay. Anything else come up while we're on the call? While I wait for that, I want to say, for those of you that are listening to this and have listened and something sparked within you, I always invite you to follow that energy. So if you want, I have free calls that I'm taking right now to just talk about some of this. If you want to unravel some of this a little bit more, some of the things that I brought up with questioning, things to question. If you want space, if you want a soundboard to work through some of that together, then I opened up space on my calendar to take some of those calls. This work is an investment. It's an investment in ourselves. If we want wealth, if we want happiness, requires us getting really, really curious about our reality, taking responsibility of that and showing up in a way that is truly who we're meant to be. And again, that doesn't mean that we have to show up and be perfect. We're human. We're meant to have a human experience too. There's nothing I can take from that, or I can't take away from that. And we get to hold space for the journey too. We get to change our reality at any time, at any time. It's just about getting really real with what we desire and how are we supporting that or not supporting that. Where are we putting pressure? Where are we constricting the energy in that flow? It's always an invitation to come back to us. And if we're holding anything for anyone else, blame, expectation, anything, whether that's a job, a person, family, whatever that is, religion, we get to release that, because that tie to them is only constricting our path. It's bringing in someone else's or something else's energy that is not meant to be in our path. So we get to choose to release that. The only way that we can see who we really are and what we really desire and take full ownership of our paths is by doing that. So that energetic management is key. And it's everything. It's exactly what manifests in our life. All right, I'm just going to check the chat real quick. Beautiful. All right. Thank you for showing up, and I look forward to connecting with you further.